Hello, I'm Barry Silverberg, Director of the Center for Nonprofit Studies at Austin Community College, and this is Civil Society, a periodic podcast to provoke more thinking about the issues affecting nonprofit effectiveness and success. My guest today is Steve Wanta, a founder and the executive director of Just, an Austin-based nonprofit that invests in low-income female entrepreneurs to create a more resilient America. For most of his professional career, Steve has focused his energy on the complexity of poverty overseas and within the United States. Through those experiences, he and Just's underwriters are developing a new approach to dealing with poverty. So Steve, why was Just created and who was involved in its creation?
Just started January 2016 when I left Whole Foods Markets Foundation, Whole Planet Foundation. Bill Wood, a long-standing venture capitalist in Austin, Texas, and a longtime colleague, Andy White, a nonprofit legal expert who you know well. The three of us came together and said, can we take lessons from global microfinance and apply them to the United States?
And so what was the general intent?
It was to see if we could do something big, do something that hadn't been done. We thought today, with both technology and a persistent gap in access to opportunity for entrepreneurs, low-income entrepreneurs, that we could do something different. For me, for us, what we established from the outset was creating a program that could help people live with less stress and more joy.
Can I apply?
You're not a woman, Barry.
I'm not?
Well, we're not here. Okay, we'll move on.
We're here for another reason.
Exactly. Nonprofit effect.
So using that as a segue, I mean, now that I had a new revelation. Tell us a little about your background, because I know you've traveled the world for the Whole Planet Foundation. I know you're in the Peace Corps, I believe.
Yep.
So tell me a little about what brings you to be concerned about poverty in general.
I wish I could tell you I was born to do this work. Rather, it's been one step in front of the next since I was a kid growing up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, rooting for the Green Bay Packers. I went on, I somehow decided I wanted to become fluent in Spanish, studied abroad a couple of times, got a job in technology. That company moved me to Austin in 2001. And at one point I worked for a company. I was in a sea of cubicles, and my boss's boss came to my desk and she said, Steve, there's a report you have to give us. And the conversation continued, and she walked away. She said, Steve, that plant on your desk is dead. You should probably get rid of it. And then my involuntary response was, well, actually, it reminds me a little piece of me dies every day I walk in here. So that was what led me to the Peace Corps. And then when I got out of the Peace Corps, I was in the right place at the right time when Whole Foods had just started a foundation, Whole Planet, in 2006. They needed someone to support a group of two projects in Guatemala and Costa Rica, which I was uniquely fit for. And then sort of the rest is history.
Cool. So you've traveled the world. You've got tons of miles, I suspect.
I give them away. I have given them away. Yeah, I like to think so.
Remember my address, okay? So why are the underwriters supporting this? Why are Bill and Andy involved in this?
Well, Bill is a entrepreneur himself and has been one of Austin's longest standing venture capitalists, and he wanted to see if he could apply some of his expertise in finding entrepreneurs to solve social problems. And there is this emergence of impact investing. There's this idea of using business tools to solve social problems. All of that, I think the reason Bill and Andy were compelled were to test out backing a person. And in this case, that person happened to be me. Yeah. I'd known Andy and Bill since we did work in East Timor in microfinance quite a while ago, almost 10 years ago now. So there was enough trust in me to figure something out based on the experience that I had. And it's been a joy to learn together over the last 2 years.
Yeah. So you mentioned trust of them and you, okay? Trust is a major part of what seems to me the new element that you bring to microfinancing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, around the world, there aren't credit scores. There is such a high percentage of informal businesses in the economy that you are forced to use other ways to underwrite that are different from the way we do it typically here in the US. Right. And you could boil it down simply to this idea of trust. Social capital amongst the community, and then there's these systematic ways to ensure that there's enough social capital for me as the lender to trust you. What we've done with Just is distill those concepts down and then rebuild them for the United States, understanding the complexities and opportunities in the US. Time is different, the challenges here are different. The amount of close connections that you and I have are fewer than in rural Guatemala.
Right.
So that's this thing that we're excited about. 100% trust, no credit score, no elaborate business plan, no 2 years of tax returns. We're financing your future versus analyzing your past.
So you're trying to replicate that smaller community, interpersonal, more intimate kind of relationship.
Yeah, and the thing that we've done that is fundamentally different is recognizing that there's latent leadership in the community itself that we're serving. So what we did after a year of testing and learning was to build an 8-week-long leadership training program.
Cool.
And through that, our entrepreneur leaders that we refer to as JETAs, Just Entrepreneur Trust Agents, they graduate and are truly empowered to go form their own small support group. If you could think of your own personal running club or Weight Watchers, those entrepreneurs, those
bad choices. Go ahead.
We could probably think of some other support groups
I
that you like. So those entrepreneurs, those JETAs, are our extension of trust into a wider community. And through that, we are unlocking capital, coaching, and everything we do is in support of community.
So one of the innovations, as I understand it, that you're really bringing to this, your focus is not just economic development, self-sufficiency, or whatever. It's really personal transformation.
Yeah, that's the hope. You can look at it from both sides. From the business side of lending people money, if people are stronger, better off, more resilient entrepreneurs, they're going to pay us back at higher rates.
Yeah.
On the flip side, the human side, the social services side, if we can be in service of helping them live with less stress and more joy, what kind of ripple effect will we have on their kids, their community? Because what we see them doing is rising up as role models. Right. And people want to be like others that are successful, so we think there's a really great chance to use credit as a tip of the spear into creating supportive community.
It's sort of a ripple in the pond kind of
yeah.
thing. So I'm a woman. How do I find out about you? When I find out about you, what happens? Walk me through an average, and I suppose there's no average, but
sure.
A person comes to you. How do I get engaged? What are you going to do for me? What do I need to do for you? Mm-hmm. And so forth.
So our job now is to recruit, train, and support these leaders, JETAs. They can come to us in one of three ways. We believe everyone deserves a chance. So if they've completed one cycle because they've been invited by another leader, one cycle of loans, they can enter our 8-week leadership training program. Doesn't matter what your background is. We believe if you're interested and you opt in, you deserve a chance. Then we also have now partnerships that we're creating with groups like affordable housing communities, schools, those that already have relationships with an entrepreneur that happens to be interested in our program. They can refer them into our leadership training program. And the thing that we're really excited by is we just developed a 1-day long boot camp to help our entrepreneurs build stronger businesses. And we're using that as a funnel to attract a large number of women entrepreneurs that are, may have a cleaning business or might be selling at the flea market, to enter into our program, and through that build a relationship that may lead to entering into our leadership training program.
So I can either be identified by somebody else to come to your attention, or I can come to you and ask you for a microloan, and you basically make that loan based upon trust.
Yeah, and there is some really clear things that have to happen. We call it intentional friction. So we want, if they're not willing to come to this day-long boot camp, then they haven't seen our program as valuable enough. We also, everybody in our program that currently is exclusively in Spanish must have what we call a socia igual, which means equal partner. So those equal partners are there intended to be of support to people in times of struggle, of challenge. So you've got to have at least one person that trusts you. And if you don't, we're not the right program for you. This is not about supporting the individual superstar entrepreneur to become the next Steve Jobs. This is about grassroots development that says community's critical, everybody deserves a chance, and here's a system that can unlock capital for, we hope, hundreds of thousands of people.
Are there other programs like that in Austin?
Well, yeah, what we really did was base our program off of the groundbreaking work of global microfinance. As a person that worked for Whole Foods, their foundation, for a decade, we supported Grameen America, and they actually have operations here in Austin, and we're different but similar. And they really deserve a lot of credit for coming into the United States in 2008 to prove that you could make loans based on solely the relationships within the community.
Yeah. Well, I'm fascinated by the trust component, treating people as people rather than as commodities or in some other fashion, measuring them in measurements that don't really relate to them.
Well, microfinance globally became fixated on the transaction. We went from ending poverty to talking about financial inclusion as the purpose, which is, in my opinion, we in the nonprofit space need to be about driving better client outcomes. Repayment of a loan is an incomplete proxy for a better life.
Right.
Asset, upward mobility, increased savings, acquiring more assets. Ultimately, what we think is most important is increased resilience, because we all face struggles.
And what do you mean by resilience?
The ability to rebound, the ability to have the confidence and access to resources to figure out the next solution. Mm-hmm. And we know that entrepreneurs are predisposed to this sort of resilience. Right. So we're excited to create a large network based on trust of resilient people.
So when Just, and I know you'll never achieve your mission fully, but when Just is successful, more successful than you are today, and please give me some of the stats I know that are very, very impressive about what you've been doing. When Just is more successful, what difference is it going to make in Austin?
Well, I'll take a little step further, because we want to be something more than just in Austin. So 10 years out, we want to be a part of changing the narrative around the potential of low-income communities to be their own change agent. We know that's only going to happen if we are large, if our community is large, because it's more than just a handful of people that are proving that. And then ultimately, it will mean that we have had a better than average impact on transforming people's lives, part of them transforming their own lives. So in Austin, what we would expect is that we will have thousands of entrepreneurs that feel less alone, are more connected, have a stronger voice, more agency. Today, we are really excited. We call 2018 our coming out party, because we had 2 years in our metaphorical garage here in Austin, and we developed this new process innovation, and that has led us to today some exciting numbers that are only the beginning. Have lent almost $1 million now.
Wow.
With a 99.3% repayment. Again, that's just the bare minimum. What we're seeing is 250 active clients, 65 new leaders. We'll expect to nearly triple in size by the end of this year, as people being more confident about their ability to save money, to build a stronger business, and access to a community of support.
I think what you're doing is great. So, in closing, what are one or two things, either or, you want viewers to know that we may not have covered? And also, if somebody wanted to get involved, if somebody's really excited about what you said, what should they do?
Well, as part of our coming out party, we are attempting to find ways for more people to get involved. So the first thing you can do is go to our website, hellojust.com. That's where we'll continue to create new, more, and better ways for our community to get together. And I think that the biggest takeaway for me, this work will not be done alone. We all have to find our personal interest and path in this. We hope to give as many people as possible an opportunity to both access our program, the entrepreneur side, and then the community of supporters that want to see a more resilient Austin, be a part of creating bridges to communities that are oftentimes unseen.
And that involves giving money to help support the program as well?
Yeah, we haven't made an ask. We're not part of Amplify Austin and all these great programs. We need to do philanthropy differently, because we have to have ultimately hundreds of millions of dollars to do the work at scale. And people will definitely be appreciated however they can support us.
Good. And are you finding community partners out there working with you on this?
Yeah, from businesses to nonprofits. We have a partnership with Univision, which is exciting. We've worked with Foundation Communities quite a bit, and that's really where we think we can be like water in the community, because we provide a resource in capital and the program that is additive to others that are serving a similar community.
Well, Steve, it's always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you, Steve. Please visit our website, nonprofitaustin.org/civil society. To read more about JUST, you'll find a link to the JUST website, and become more aware of and more engaged in combating poverty, and even more importantly, help people transform their lives so that they can be more resilient, as Steve has so eloquently said. Also, please share your thoughts on today's podcast. This is Barry Silverberg with Civil Society, a Center for Nonprofit Studies podcast in collaboration with the great folks at ACC TV. So I want to thank you for joining us. You all have a great day.